If everybody can please listen, I know it's hard sometimes to understand poetry, but hopefully you'll listen and bear with me. So let's see if I can get this right. It's about tigers eat Texans. Okay, that's the first one. You got that? Repeat after me. Tigers eat Texans. Okay. Tigers eat Texans. Okay, all right. And the next thing would be, so we've got Michigan, we got the Tigers. Oh, lions eat bears.
Lions eat bears.
Okay. And wolverines eat their greens. All right. Let's go. Wolverines eat their greens. Okay. Now, has that offended anybody in the room? Is anybody green? Do you have any green folks in the room?
Go green.
Go green. Mike, is it true though that? Is it not true? We want to be very focused on future results and not on past. So it's really hopefully different. Welcome this morning. We have 3 great panels talking about the future of internet, and they're going to explain cloud computing and all those kind of good things. And in talking to them about preparing this presentation, I realized how little I know about this. So they were kind of very polite and not laughing at me when I used the wrong terminology, but hopefully after today I'll be much better educated, right? So I have a few people, as usual, that I'd like to have an opportunity to present just a little bit about what they're doing, because for those of you, we have some first-timers here at CEO Connect. Okay, great, quite a few. So one of the things that we try to do is highlight good things that are happening in the community. And we have an opportunity to talk about things that are coming up. If people are looking for something, they want people to attend an event. Maybe last time we had 2 or 3 companies that actually were providing jobs, which was nice. I think Terumo Cardiovascular was hiring quite a few, and the other company that was hiring. Well, actually, Lois. Where's Lois? Because she is hiring. So, Lois, you stand right there. I'll come over with the mic. And Lois Weinblatt, right, is from Zingerman's Maya Order. And started, what, about 10 years ago? Yeah. And now it's very successful. So, Lois, your announcement.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Lois. I'm from Zingerman's Mail Order in our corporate gift department. And as we are ramping up for the holidays, we are definitely looking for staff. So we're looking for folks in our warehouse, in our service center. But then in my department, our professional presence department, we are looking for an elite squad of data wranglers. So if you know anyone who loves Excel and loves inputting a lot of data, please send them our way.
Great. And these are wonderful opportunities because they're like between now and basically Christmas.
Yes,
right? So
we do lots of tastings twice a day. So yes, we get a discount.
Get a discount. Marvin, why did you ask that question? You already have a job, Marvin. You can take that. But actually, I know people who have jobs that they love it so much that they take this as their second job. So
Yes,
it's very, very cool. And Zingerman's is one of our sponsors, and thanks for coming. And another sponsor that we have is United Bank and Trust. And there's a couple of folks here. Mike and Don are from the IT area and program development, program management. So, Mike Collins, could you just say a little bit about the bank? Sure.
Thanks, Rob. Good morning, everyone. Mike Collins with United Bank and Trust. Joined the bank about a year ago in the IT space. So the topic today is pretty salient to what we're doing as we round out the year's activities. United Bank and Trust is a local lending mortgage operation based in Washtenaw County. We also lend in the Lenawee as well. Really active in the community. That's a real area of focus for us. We just were able to be the major sponsor for the Big House Big Heart Run. So we have about 350 folks that were out running last Sunday, and I'm still sore getting over that. So thanks very much, and enjoy the morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And Mike is an example. I'm not sure if Don too, but some folks came from ABN AMRO, right? Which we were concerned because they kind of closed down operations, but these folks liked Ann Arbor so much that they found other opportunities. We also have Stu Nelson. Stu, you want to just say what you guys are doing, because they've got a new product at Catnip, And a new building out there too, which is, you're not lazy boy anymore. You're
Not lazy.
yeah,
Stop out and see us. I don't know if you've noticed the new building that's popped up out of Briarwood Mall. It's the home of Catholic Insurance in Ann Arbor. Our headquarters is actually in Adrian. We have an office in Southfield, and I'll gladly come out and see us. I'm with Catholic. Brad Labadie, my partner here, is with Catholic. We're sort of heading up what we call the KIC team. We specialize in property and casualty insurance and benefits for life science companies, advanced technology companies, and we're, or anybody else that really wants any other type of insurance, to tell you the truth. But love to work with you. We're also doing some cyber products. So if you're worried about somebody breaking into your data, it's happening every day, not just the big businesses anymore, but the small businesses. We've got some ways to insure against that. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Stu. And I've got some other folks. Stash Smirsky, old friend of mine, who's been with Zingtrain and their first time here. So Stash, maybe you could tell us what's going on with Zingtrain these days.
That's not my first time.
No?
That's not, it's my first time here in this building.
Oh, okay, all right.
Here's that.
All right.
I'm one of the managing partners at Zingerman, so I'm really pleased to have all of you here visiting the Roadhouse, and of course we have 7 other businesses in the Ann Arbor area. As the managing partner of Zingtrain, we provide training and consulting to focus on the specialty food industry, and have worked with some of you and many organizations across the United States providing training. We're really excited because we have just about doubled our staff in the past 3 months. We were 4 and now we're about 9.
Wow.
There's 1 part-time person. And we're building a new training site on the south side of Ann Arbor, across the street from our coffee company and the creamery and the bakehouse. And that'll be open sometime next summer. We're excited.
All right.
So thank you all for being here. If you don't know where the restrooms are, they're down this way and then to the left. Okay?
All right, so we got lots, and Valerie also from Zing, and you got a new thing going on. Maybe you could tell us about that. Valerie's made some great coffee for me over the years, and now she's got a new role.
So I work in Zingtrain, and I am the new community builder. So my job, it's my awesome job, to keep in touch with all of you.
So what does that mean? How do you want people to interact with you?
You email, phone call. We're on the web at zingtrain.com. I can leave my business cards. I buy the coffee when people go out to refills.
Okay, great.
And I'll talk to you really about, not just about what we do, but I think about what you do. That would be part of it.
All right, thank you. It's kind of interesting to talk about Zingerman's and community building a new role, because you guys have been so great over the years of building our community and promoting what we do here. So I know there are a couple other people I was going to ask to speak, and I can't remember. Scott, there we go. You're over here. And Scott's got some opportunities too that I think would be very beneficial for some of the companies that are in here in the room. So Scott?
Hey there, I'm Scott Moore. I'm a professor at the business school, and I head up a program that, if you've ever dealt with the MBAs at Ross before, it's probably through our MAP program. And well, we now have it for BBAs as well. We've gone through a pilot phase, saw it work. We worked with Zingerman's Community Businesses. We did a project with them. We did with, Domino's and Vistion and Arbor Wind, a small startup, and LaRoy Printing. We've done all sorts of things. So they do things like market entry strategies, new products, introductions, anything where you need a team of 4 or 5 students for about 10 weeks to come in and work on a project, do background research, come up with a plan, come up with a rollout strategy, whatever it might be. They work real hard and they're real smart, and they'll surprise you with what they can do. And they're free. So that's all. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I really want to emphasize what a great opportunity this is, because these are, you know how bright students are at University of Michigan, and this is, again, a selection of among those brightest who wanted to go into business. So not only they are extremely bright and energetic, but they have access to these incredible databases that enable us to get to market information and competitive information that that you wouldn't normally get at. And also, Patricia, can you just say a little bit? I'm waiting for Patricia. Well, actually, Brittany, I'll let you go because I'm calling these people. But Patricia had her mouth full, so I'll let her pass. Brittany, you're not eating anything at the moment. Could you talk about your new role? Because Brittany's been here before in her old role, but she has a new role at Spark, and I'd like to talk to you. Have you talked about it?
I caught her totally by surprise. This is all spontaneous.
Thanks. I'm Brittany. I'm now no longer have to drive all the way to Detroit. I get to work right in my backyard in Ann Arbor. I'm at Ann Arbor Spark. I'm the talent director. So we are basically, we view talent as an integral part of economic development because we are feeding all of you talent that you need, and this talent in this role, I don't get to work with just interns, although we like them too, but we're looking at everyone across the career spectrum, and we focus on really knowledge workers type of talent. So we have a job portal. I don't know how many of you have been to it, Spark's job portal. It is for primarily knowledge workers in the innovative space. It is AnnArborUSA.org/talent/jobs. You can post on there for free. It does also get posted statewide because we license the job portal to MEDC, and that is known as hireme.org, MI.org. So it will get posted there as well. So 2 places. Thanks.
Good job. Thank you. Give her a hand because she's bringing talent to the area here. And I think there's a few folks that are actually in the job search right now. I'm not going to give announcement time, but if you are, just can you just raise your hand and kind of just say very briefly what kind of work you're looking for, Ellen?
So I'm Ellen Vaughn, and I'm a free agent currently, and I have spent 30 years in the information technology field. In 30 years, you do a lot of different things. So I am proposing that I am a seasoned generalist. Seasoned.
All right. And I had asked Patricia, I'm sorry to catch you with the mouth, but you know, with this CEO Connect is really about community. And if you think about one thing in our community that really ties the community together and has for 30, 40 years, 35 years, it's the Ann Arbor Observer. And anytime I get a little bit depressed about, oh, I wish I was in New York City or Chicago because there's nothing to do, I open up that weekly activity and I think, oh my God, how am I going to choose between these 5 great things that I could do that are all 10 minutes from my house and are all greatly priced under the pricing of New York or Chicago. And I feel very heartened about Ann Arbor. Plus, it's just a cool thing. So, Patricia, can you just say a little bit about what you guys are up to, or have I done enough for you now?
Good morning. Patricia Garcia published the Ann Arbor Observer and the Community Observer and our online site, arborweb.com, where you can find all kinds of information about what's going on in the community, people, places, businesses. Unfortunately, we're not hiring right now, but we're always interested in working with talented people. We'd be happy to talk to you about some consulting. And writers, stories. If you have interesting stories about what's going on in your business, if you or someone in your business might be an interesting profile person, get in touch with me. Give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you or refer you to someone in our editorial department. We're always looking for good stories. Also want to give a shout out and a thank you to those of you who have become friends of the Observer. As you know, our industry's gone through a lot of changes. Over the past few years, we've had to make adjustments accordingly. We hope to continue to publish and to bring news and information and events to you for years to come. But we can't do that without your support and your involvement. We want your stories. We'd also invite you to become friends of the Observer. And that means just write a complimentary subscription check. So welcome your input and give some thought to some story ideas. We welcome them. Okay?
Great. Great. Now, so I get free tickets to any event of my choice this month? You wish. So we're going to move on with the program. I just wanted to say one other thing in that this program, CEO Connect, has been going on for over 10 years now. I think we're about 12th year, and probably about 6 years here at the Roadhouse. And I want to thank a couple people. One is Mandy Carr, who has done a great job. She is a premier service person, as far as in the whole world, so she's just great. And I also want to thank Stephanie, who has brought consistency to my company. And she's done a great job of making this a much more smooth operation. The one thing I'd like to ask of you before I introduce the panel, and I appreciate you folks being very patient here, is that there's been a lot of connections made that I don't even know about. Somebody pointed this out and said, I wonder how much business has come from the Connect part of CEO Connect. So if you have had any connection here that has led to business or an opportunity for you, I'd like to try to promote those, much like Pat's looking for stories. I'd like to start putting some of those stories on my website, and I'm going to be creating a newsletter soon, and just talk about, you hear about networking, but what actually happens as a result of networking? How do you maybe find a new client or somebody that you hire or somebody you date? I don't know, whatever it might be, but that would be great. Oh, we have one other kind of special guest here. Oh, I just see came in, and she flew in all the way from New York City, Brooklyn, to be here today, and she's actually a native of Michigan and a success story because she was with the Ann Arbor News. I don't know if you were up for the Observer at all. Yeah, okay, the Observer. So Colleen Newvine is here from AP, and you just want to say what you are or what you're doing at this point.
Sure. Get over to Colleen.
I'm glad I got some coffee before we put me
Yeah.
on the spot. My name is Colleen Newvine. I probably know some of you from when I was business editor at the Ann Arbor News. Did that for a couple of years. See some familiar faces. Hi. Then I got my MBA at Michigan and decided to take that to New York City to take that for a spin. So I've been with the Associated Press for a little over 5 years. Right now my role there is I'm a product manager of the AP style book. If any of you are word nerds, it's the sort of dictionary for writers and has a very passionate following. I'm doing that part-time, and I'm also doing some marketing consulting on the side. So I kind of refer to that as entrepreneur light. So I've got this great kind of best of both worlds. So thanks to Rob for having me.
Colleen is available. She's actually going to work with me on helping promote my work as an executive coach and consultant through social media. So she's going to be working with Farita's company, Dynamic Computer, hopefully. And so she's just a real maven about what's going on in the cutting edge of marketing right now. So if any of you want to connect with her, I'm sure you've got some cards for her. But it's nice to have you back. Welcome you back. And so I want to introduce our panel here. And I'm going to go right up on the edge here. Mike Klein, most of you know, he's been at these events for a long time, and he refers to himself as a serial entrepreneur. And I think that's quite good. He started Steeplechase in the 90s, right? And then he was with Interlink Technology, another startup here in the software security area. And now he's COO and what else? IT director, president of Online Technology, which was started maybe about 10 years ago. Right? Yeah, 94. So it's been around almost 20 years at this point. So Mike is going to talk about what they're doing and how this is what we talk about as the cloud. Okay, and then Don Welch, who's been CEO and president of Merit Systems, and we were very excited to hear about what Merit's up to. Don has a really interesting career, 20 years, 25 in the armed services, special services, all kinds of interesting work, and it will be really interesting to get to know Don and hear about what's going on with Merit. Gary LaRoy is the IT director at MEDC, and he came in there 2 years ago and had a very interesting experience turning around this department, and now is a user of some of the things that Merit and Online are doing. So he's going to talk about it from a user perspective. So I'm going to turn this over to Don, who's going to kick this off, and then Mike, and then Gary, and then we're going to open it up for questions after their presentation.
Thanks, Rob. So, as I said, I'm Don Welch, President of Merit Network. I want to start off a little bit in the history and who Merit is, because you probably, closer, okay. Probably don't understand really who we are or how we differ. So, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. Anyways, so Merit was formed back in 1966, and so the University of Michigan, Michigan State, and Wayne State could not be seen to actually collaborate with each other, but they wanted to connect their mainframes together. So we formed Merit as this little shadow organization to get people to collaborate and work together. And so Merit has been on the forefront of developing networking for over 45 years now. So, I guess our big claim to fame would be in the 80s and 90s when Merit was awarded the grant from the National Science Foundation to try and make networks talk to each other. Those been around a while know that there were, DECnet and Apple Talk and Token Range and all these different networks and trying to get them to work together. So they had this idea, what would happen to make these networks get together? And it'd be like a network of networks, or maybe kind of an internet. And so some of you may have heard of that, but Merit, IBM, and Sprint were the ones who actually built that. So what we think of as routers and switches were being built in the Merit offices with soldering guns and proto boards. A lot of the protocols that go around the network were developed by Merit staff. And one of the other things that we had been doing over time is hosting the North American Network Operators Group, which is all the network engineers, the internet engineers, to get together to share best practices. When I would go to those meetings, my kids would go, "Oh, you're going to the meeting where no one will look you in the eye." Anyways, we had been hosting that one. We also did a number of other things. One of the things we did in the last decade is convert to a owned fiber strategy, owning the infrastructure. And then more recently, we've gone into services beyond networking, i.e., marketing-wise, we'll call them cloud services now. But we've got a great network, so how do you take advantage of it? Okay, next slide. Thanks. We're a nonprofit, and there's this important idea of why we exist. We saw one of the TED Talks that said all the great companies understand why they exist, and their customers understand why they exist, and so forth. And I thought, being a nonprofit, being who we are, that this is really a very powerful thing for us. So part of understanding Merit is really to understand this idea of why we exist. So this idea of fostering partnership is really important. We are a member organization. We're a collaborative of all these public sector organizations. And we exist for community success. So we don't have anyone who will benefit financially if we succeed. That's the nature of a nonprofit. So our success is our community success. And then, of course, information technology is part of who we are. And when we were discussing this, that was the key question. Is information technology part of it? In 50 years, if the technology all changes, will Merit still exist and still be there to foster these partnerships? And we decided now, IT is who we are. We have lots of people that won't look you in the eye. Okay.
People here okay?
Next slide.
Mike has to be kind of...
Okay, next slide, please. Sorry.
That's it. It's all right, I think.
All right, so our vision is basically to be a strategic asset to our membership. Next slide, please. And so the structure. So we serve what's known as community anchor institutions. So this idea of community anchor institutions came out recently in the FCC's broadband plan, and then also in the legislation, the stimulus funding. There was about $7.4 billion given out to try and connect the rural and remote areas of the country. And a key emphasis of that was on what they call community anchor institutions. So those are higher education, K-12, libraries, government, healthcare. Merit also has served museums, research institutions, both private and not-for-profit, and then other non-profits. So we're an independent 501c3, and we are governed by the 12 public universities that form our board of directors. We have an elected advisory council. The important thing is we don't get any state funding. So around the country, almost every state or region has got a network somewhat like us. And many of them have direct state funding. And they would all kind of look at us as, oh, poor Merit, they don't get any state funding. Of course, in recent years, as they've all had to cut their budget, we've been growing because we don't depend on state funding, and we don't get all the help from the state that comes along with state funding. So we can be a lot more agile. We support research over the network and on the network. So we still have a research team that is involved with developing new protocols, new things, understanding. A lot of our work is in security, but a lot of it is in we've been doing in trying to get better throughput through network, get the current protocols to perform better. And then, of course, we have a super high performance network. So for those of you that understand networking, one of the big things that happens is when you're talking about a network, you want to put something on the network, you basically, just like what happens in my family, you talk, and then you listen and see if you were talking when someone else was listening, or someone else was talking. And if you were, then you wait a little bit and you talk again. And that works really well when there's not a lot of conversation going on. But if we had a room with this many people and we were all talking like that, you know, no one would ever be able to get anything through. And that's the way a lot of the networking works right now, so you get this congestion. So there's about 15 minutes a year when there's any congestion on our network, and that's because we're required to meet those kinds of standards, to meet the needs of the University of Michigan, Michigan State, et cetera, for research purposes. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so back in 2010, we were awarded 2 stimulus grants for broadband. And so the first round was the blue round. And at the time we applied, there were people applying in the Upper Peninsula, in the northeast part, and down here in the Thumb. And we were all going to interconnect and hopefully serve Michigan. Merit was the one who was awarded. The others didn't succeed. And so in round 2, most of the others decided to pitch in with us. We led the round 2, which you see is the red, and then the Thumb stayed separate, and they in fact were awarded 2. So the total is to be about $130 million project. It'll be about 2,300 miles of fiber, ranging anywhere from 72 to 144 strands. So how important is a strand of fiber? You need one pair, 2 strands, to kind of go in one direction. So with that strand, current reasonable technology says that you can put 40 10 gigabit per second waves on a pair going in each direction. If you want to double stack it, you can put 80. Now, of course, you can buy 100 megabit technology, but that's really expensive and nobody really needs that yet. So this is a tremendous capacity that we have that we'll be able to deliver throughout the state of Michigan. For those of you that have vacation up here and know what your cell phone coverage is like, this will be a big difference. I guess the other important thing to realize is that we are a nonprofit, and we serve the nonprofit community. We have 7 commercial partners, if you will, on this who are going to own strands. So there'll be parallel networks to our network. And so they will serve the homes of businesses while we serve the schools and libraries and universities. Next slide. Okay, and they talked about all of these things. Did I leave anything important out? I don't think so. Okay, next slide. Okay, Mike's going to spend a lot more time talking about cloud computing. But one of the things that we offer with this infrastructure is we offer cloud services, if you will. But ours are a little different than what you'll see. This is a matrix that basically came from the Gartner group. But when you're talking about cloud services, you can look at these two variables. One is access, who has access to it, and the other is who has control over it. So if you look at user control and limited access, what you've really got is a private cloud. You can set up a cloud in your own data center. And if you look at the other end of the public cloud, you're talking YouTube. And you know that an individual user doesn't have much control and everybody has access to it there. And then virtual private, you can set up your cloud computing within in some existing data centers, and there's different flavors of that, customer to the virtual private. And Merit's somewhat in the middle, and that we have a community cloud, being collaborative. Our members control, since they know who they are, we share more information amongst each other. There's a lot more collaboration that goes on. And so, so this is where we're coming from when we deliver cloud services to our membership. Okay, next slide, please. So, as I said, we offer a whole bunch of different services. We've got a great network, but so what? So what do you do with the network? Getting access to the internet is one of the things that we do, the access to commodity internet. I think the interesting thing is about 13% of the traffic that leaves our member campuses actually goes to what we consider the commodity internet. Most of the rest of the traffic is going to other sites that we have. So part of what we're trying to do is get the is provide more services. So obviously provide network services, hosted infrastructure, virtual machines, so forth, research services. I've talked about that. Unified communication, hosted applications. We spend a lot of time in community development and support. We provide some security services because obviously it's very difficult to share services unless you've got some security. And then professional services. A lot of what is happening to K-12 libraries, colleges, they're losing their IT staff, and people are spread more thinly, and then they need help. So they look to us for professional services. Okay, next slide. All right, so as I said, one of the most important things we do is collaboration. School districts, especially the ISDs, are trying very hard to cut their costs. And one of the ways they can do that is share services. Michigan is a very decentralized state, and there is no hierarchy from above that imposes the kind of sharing of services that other states have. So to do that, you need a relationship. You need reliable, secure connectivity, and you need shared authentication. So that's one of the things that we really do. We have about 24 events a year. We get members of our community in, be it for training, for meetings, for communities of practice. People know each other through being members of Merit. Then they build that trust, and then they can start to share resources. If you want to share school buses between districts, you need to share IT systems. If you want to share food service, you need to share IT systems. That's the key. Okay, next slide.
Donnie, before you go on, where'd you get that picture of CEO Connect?
Yeah. that was from one of our early meetings. Okay, next slide. And of course, research is a key thing that we do. So, research on networking, for those of you that work in the research field, the thing that you really need is data. So when you can find data, then you can solve a problem, get your PhD, and get your grants and so forth. So that's one of the things that we're really good at, is collecting information about performance on the network. And so Arbor Networks is probably the best example of a company that started with a research collaboration with us, and they got all their data. They were able to build a very successful company. They're growing presence here, and every time we try and hire a technical person, they offer more money and we lose them. But other than that, we're still friends, and still do that. So we're doing that to the University of Michigan and other institutions now to try and get that data out to drive that research. And then, of course, supporting research. A lot of the research that's going on takes a lot of computation power. It takes a lot of data. So the high energy physics stuff that's going on over in Europe, that data has to come back. It is terabytes of data, and it's got to get to the researchers. So it traverses our network, Internet 2, comes back into Michigan State and Michigan to try and analyze that stuff. Climate science, a lot of data. Okay, last slide. All right, So just to sum up, so Merit is a not-for-profit, and we serve the community. We are building this big network out throughout all of Michigan. We do have commercial partners on it, so those of you that want to expand your business up to Traverse City, you will have some options for bandwidth as this does build out. And the applications over the network, I think, are increasingly important. Networking is a fairly mature technology now.
Don, we got a few more minutes, just take a couple questions now, and then we'll get back. So just specifically any questions on the information you've heard so far?
Did you repeat everything you said?
These slides will be available, by the way, and
we use technology, that's right.
Roger Rail is taping this, and this will be on our website hopefully within the week, so real sooner. And so, but Patricia, go ahead with the question.
I was going to ask, what are your commercial partners for business and homes?
So they're ACDNet, Links, TC3Net, Broadband Communications, PFN, who did I forget? Boardman River. I said Links. Oh, Great Lakes ComNet. And Packer Lansing, Packerland.
And I can introduce Elwood there too.
Yeah, Elwood Downing is our VP of, he's got a very long title, but basically member relations services, communications, so forth. I just take the credit. He's the one who makes things work.
Any other questions? We can go back to slides. Mike?
I wonder, Don, with both Michigan and Michigan State on your board, what are you doing on Saturday?
Wearing purple.
Northwestern, right?
Okay, well, we'll turn it over to Mike, and then we'll get more questions later. Thanks.
So Stephanie, you passed on the draw because we have a lot of slides in here. If I use my outside voice, is that going to be okay? Or do I have to
Use the mic.
Sorry, recording, okay. Bob asked me to do two things. One is give you a quick overview of who Online Tech is. And we've been around for almost 17, 18 years now. And then the second thing is talk about cloud computing and not use any buzzwords, which is going to be a real challenge. So let me start off with Online Tech. It started in 1994. It was one of the first internet service providers in the state of Michigan. And it was actually founded by about 6 entrepreneurs, Gary Baker, Ron Reed, Ron Reiser, all the names that a lot of people may know here, where they really wanted to go out there. And it actually started 3 days before Netscape went live, or actually started. So a pretty cool history there. They did, Online Tech did dial-up. If you remember back to the old dial-up days. Internet access, shared hosted web development, that was back before there really was a web. A lot of it was just text-based web development and communications. So that's kind of where we started. Next slide. In 2003, so internet service providers grew really well. I remember in 2001, right after the bubble, we had kind of a nuclear winter for internet service providers and for telecom, right? Everything, literally 90% of the ISPs in the country died and went away. Online Tech survived, but also had a downturn. And in 2003, my partner and another investor bought Online Tech and decided to shift it from being an internet service provider into a data center operator. Sold off the dial-up. Eventually, we sold off our web business, our email business, and really started focusing on something that at that time was called co-location, which means leverage the data center in multi-tenant, so other companies could bring their servers in and put it into the data center. We started off with 600 square feet. In 2004, we bought another data center, which was downtown in City Center. In 2006, we bought a data center that had 22,500 square foot data center up just south of Flint, Michigan. For marketing purposes, we call that mid-Michigan. But it's just a little south of Flint, Michigan. It was an old EDS General Motors data center. So we're kind of on our way building up the data centers. In 2008, we went and rebranded the company from being Online Technologies Corporation. When I first got there in 2008, we started looking at OTC. People were we couldn't get any web search terms because everybody was looking at OTC, over-the-counter drugs and over-the-counter trading. So we ended up, we already had the branding or the onlinetech.com. We just rebranded ourselves. Opened a second or third data center here in Ann Arbor. We called it in Avis Farms. We took that over from Thomson Reuters. We started doing auditing and kind of moving up in the compliance world, making sure we had a lot of processes so you could survive Sarbanes-Oxley. Added cloud computing last year, and then just the beginning of this month, we opened another data center in Ann Arbor. So today we are the largest data center operator in the state. We've got 62,000 square feet of data center space, 40,000 square feet of white space, which is raised floor. We deliver 1.5 megawatts of power available to deliver to the servers and the infrastructure, and over 650 tons of cooling. So to think about that, that's a couple of subdivisions put together when you think about the cooling that we do. Okay. So what's all this buzz about cloud computing? I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. You know, you can't go into almost anything and talk about cloud computing. And cloud computing means a lot of things to a lot of people. So you can hear about cloud storage, software as a service as the cloud. Microsoft runs their famous cloud ads that has everybody confused. There's cloud computing. So, you know, anytime you talk about IT, now you got to insert the buzzword cloud in there and, you know, keep everybody confused. So before we do that, let's start with, I'm going to start with this and just kind of walk this through. Let's start with a history of of computing and IT within small businesses. Okay. So this is where I kind of, you know, we started with servers under the desk. I always think this is kind of interesting, a space heater right next to a computer for a lot of reasons. In our business, we think about 1.5 megawatts of power we deliver. We have to have another 1.5 megawatts of power basically to cool off that power and get it in. So for every watt we put in, it takes another watt to air condition to get that power out. So, you know, this doesn't scale very well. Figure about that. And then you kind of, things get a little bit more complex. As a small business, you started adding more computers. You started ending up with interesting scenarios here. And so companies, as things got a little bit more complex, we jumped here quite a bit. We jump over a bunch of slides, or let's see if we can just fast forward, skip that one. We gotta keep going. Let's see if we can get to the. Where is that? Okay, so we lost a bunch of slides in this process. So let me see if I can remember where that in there. They're in the cloud. They're out there. So as people started, you know, basically going from that, they started building their own data centers. Realized that as they built the data centers up, that wasn't part of their core competency. So some companies started realizing that you could start moving those data centers and sharing data centers together. So the first kind of step moving to the cloud was what was called co-location. Moving into data centers was called multi-tenanted data centers. So that you didn't have to buy all that infrastructure. You didn't have to buy those generators and the multiple internet connections that you needed. And as businesses started moving, and as I think you find today versus 10 years ago, where it was a lot easier to, 10 years ago, you could run your IT from 8 to 5, maybe 7 in the morning to 6 at night. Now all of a sudden we're 24/7. Everybody's expected to be on. You need to be able to get your email at 3 o'clock in the morning. You need to be able to get patient records at 4 o'clock in the morning. You've got an emergency out there. So the world, as we don't know it, has changed in the last 10 years. The companies need to start relying on capabilities that weren't necessarily there. They need to be on 24/7. They need to have the infrastructure. So the power was always there, the internet connectivity was always there, the servers were always on. And as time moved on, people started realizing that not only could they not share the data centers where they would bring in their own infrastructure, spend the capital, but they could actually offload that capital expense and start putting that on data center operators and say, you know what, you guys buy the servers, you manage the servers. And that was called managed servers. And you started seeing that evolve over the last probably 5 or 6 years, where companies were pushing that out onto data center operators. And then they started realizing and saying, wait a minute, not only can you manage the servers, but we can share these servers. Because most servers that are out there, you're only using 5 or 10% of the time. Or 5 to 10% of the load. So as we start slicing, there's a technology called virtualization that lets you take these hardware platforms and slice them up into chunks to put multiple solutions or multiple servers in there. And what happened is kind of in this name cloud technology really was virtualizing these servers out there when we go to cloud computing and giving people slices. And you can figure out how big of a slice you want and how many computers you want to put in place. So the whole concept of cloud computing was really saying, wait a minute, not only can I outsource my data centers and my infrastructure, I can outsource the computers, and I can actually share those. And some people decide to share all those servers within their own cloud, which is called the private cloud. So I can take hundreds of servers and maybe reduce them down to a couple, 3, 4, or 5 boxes, manage those and flex those the way that I want. Or I can share those in what's called a public cloud, which means I can just buy one of those slices or one of those servers at a time and share that infrastructure across a whole bunch of companies. And so when you look at it, I don't know where that gets us here. Let's see where this next slide takes us. And so that's really where we're at, is that when people talk about cloud computing, and you're basically talking about how do I leverage the resources that somebody else has, how do I leverage the expertise, so I don't need to hire all the IT staff necessarily to manage the servers. I can focus on my core business. What we find is that a lot of our customers focus on their applications, which is where they add the highest value to their customers, and they leave the servers, they leave the air conditioning, they leave the power and the internet to us, because we've got the guys that can do that, and they can focus on where their greatest value add is. So when you talk about the cloud itself, what is the cloud? Well, there's cloud computing, which is these servers that we do a lot of, and putting those servers online out in another data center that you can access. We have cloud storage, if anybody's using like online backup. It's basically putting all of your storage or your backup or you're saving your files or your pictures off online in somebody's data center somewhere. You've got cloud software, which is commonly called software as a service, like Salesforce.com, which Gary's going to talk about, his experience there. And the whole concept is you can expand that as needed without any capital. So if I need more storage, if I need more computing, if I need more seats for my software, I can basically dial it up, pay more a month to do that, but I don't have to invest the capital, I don't have to design the infrastructure to get it up. Why do people go to the cloud? Well, the first reason is there's no capital expense. So rather than spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to build all that out, there's no expense, there's no maintenance, that resides on somebody else. 24/7 availability of applications, as companies are going and saying, you know what, I can't afford to have my IT down ever, and which is a big difference from what we've seen 10 years ago. The need to make sure that that's out there, starting to move people towards the cloud. The ability to leverage outside expertise, the ability to rapidly provision. I'll give you a story. So 2-3 years ago, before we started clouding and doing cloud computing, when we wanted to build and bring up a new server for our internal infrastructure, we'd have to go, we'd order it from Dell, or we'd find one online, we'd go through the process, and it would take us anywhere from 48 hours to a week to get it up. Today, if we want to do just a test server to test one of our applications, a new generation of a new revision of our software, it's done in 30 minutes. Spin it up, we call up our guys, say, boom, make a copy of what we had, it's completely up and running within 30 minutes. That rapid provisioning happens because we don't have to buy the hardware, build the hardware, put it all in place. We literally get into a software panel and say, create another server, boom, we're up and running. Highly elastic, what does that mean? That means you can expand and contract very quickly. So if I need to go from 1 server to 10 servers, if I need to increase the power of those servers, literally we get on a software panel, we get a few keys, and our engineers turn it up in a matter of minutes. And then the other thing that we see a lot of, and we're seeing that a lot of our clients are coming to us for is disaster recovery. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the world, if you had a fire and your whole office burnt down and you lost your computers, you could probably recover your business. Today, so much of our businesses are tied to the data, they're tied to our applications, they're tied to our IT infrastructure, that if we were to lose it, literally 40% of the businesses that have a fire and lose their IT systems go out of business. It's getting more and more difficult to recover, and the real benefit of cloud computing is it makes disaster recovery, the ability to recover that within hours, so much more cost efficient than what you could have done in the past. In the past, before cloud computing, it could cost you basically 2 or 3 times your total infrastructure cost to have a disaster recovery solution in place. So basically, you're thinking about insurance. That's pretty expensive insurance, right? And price is a very important factor. Insurance, what Stu tells you, right? So the other side of it is now all of a sudden we made that insurance much, much cheaper when you move off to cloud computing. So where we play, where online tech plays, just bringing this back, is that whole range of things we talked about, from co-location, for the companies that really want to still buy the servers, own the servers, manage them themselves, but they don't want their own infrastructure. You can bring that stuff and house it in a multi-tenant data center, and we'll do that. The other end of the spectrum, we'll do the clouds. We'll do the private clouds, we'll do the shared clouds. We'll buy that infrastructure, we'll put it in place, we'll manage it, we'll make it turnkey, and you never have to think about that. You can focus on your core business. And we do kind of everything in between. So if you want to buy your servers and have that co-location, bring it in place, but have us manage it, we'll do it. If you want the non-cloud version where the servers are dedicated to you, it's hardware platform, we'll do that. We'll kind of provide that whole range of services. It's really what our business model is all about. So here's how you become an expert in the IT area. You have to find a way to work the cloud into every sentence you have, and you're good.
Gary's going to talk about the user of this, and then we'll open it up to questions. So.
Thank you, Rob. I like where you're standing. It doesn't have my back to anybody. Thanks for inviting me to talk today. Before I talk about technical stuff, and I'm not going to do too technical stuff like these guys, because I couldn't. And I'm not an IT director, I'm the CIO. That means
CIO.
Primarily a business person who speaks IT, as opposed to a tech person that tries to work those things into every sentence. What I'm going to talk about a little bit first is what in the world is economic development. I've only been in this business for 2 years, and 2 years ago when they called me, I had no idea what MEDC did or what economic development does. So on the off chance there's somebody else in here that is in that boat, I'm going to talk about that a little bit first. Can you get the slide, please? So what we do, and this is the 2-minute version. If you want the real version, come back in January. Mike Finney's going to be here. He'll tell you what we're really doing. But we do economic gardening. What's that? That's nurturing the businesses that are already in Michigan, helping them to grow, helping them to survive, making sure that they have what they need to stay here and grow and thrive in the state. We do entrepreneurial ecosystem for entrepreneurship. And that means that through the whole startup process, from concept through first, second, third stage of capitalization, there's a whole support structure that needs to be in place to help small businesses become successful, become larger businesses. So that's a very important part of what we do. It happens, and I didn't know this until I got here, that we have 2 of my colleagues here today. Tom Rico, wave Tom. He's the godfather of economic gardening. He goes around our organization giving seminars on what do we mean when we say economic gardening. So we'll catch him afterwards if you want to know more. And Paula Sorrell, who just joined MEDC as the godmother, I don't know what her title is, of entrepreneurship. She's our director of entrepreneurial activities, or something like that. Long title, but that's what she does. So those are our 2 basic things. That's paying attention to what we have and helping it grow and prosper. The other things are the marketing things. Business attraction, we try to sell Michigan to businesses worldwide, both to get them to relocate here, to get them to establish a presence here, to get them to invest in Michigan, and tourism marketing. That's fairly unusual in the world of economic development across the country, that the Economic Development Organization also does tourism marketing, but that's what we do. The whole Secure Michigan travel campaign, which is now Secure Michigan business campaign as well. That's us. So we're kind of the marketing arm of the state of Michigan, to put it in one sentence. Now, the transition to IT. So what systems does that require? A number of systems, but the 2 that I'm going to talk about today are customer relations management, or CRM. We got to keep track of all the companies that we do business with, and in fact, all the companies in the state, all the contacts of those companies, all the projects we're doing with those companies. That's classic CRM with some twists in that we're not keeping track of how much we sell to them, we're keeping track of how much they invest, how many jobs they create, and that sort of thing. So our measurements are different, so we got to customize, but it's CRM. And program management, which are mega programs, our 21st Century Jobs programs, things that we do to help businesses start up have to be administered after they get done. That's all program management or grants management. So those are the 2 flavors of IT. Go ahead. So 2 years ago when I joined MEDC, I'd like to tell you that I had a cloud strategy and I knew exactly where we were going. But I'd be lying. And the speaker here could probably calm me on that. So I won't lie to you today. But I will tell you what we had. we had a CRM system on Siebel, an old CRM system, about 10-year-old, highly customized Siebel system, which is kind of like a rock around our necks because we couldn't change it quickly enough to react. And we had a grants management system, which is actually a cloud-hosted system, but not very flexible. And we had, because they didn't work very good, we had dozens of other little systems and databases and spreadsheets and PDF stuff that didn't connect very well with each other, weren't integrated, and certainly didn't connect with our leadership. They couldn't get information on what we did. Didn't connect at all with our stakeholders. Legislators were constantly frustrated with us for what they call lack of transparency, which is, I would translate to lack of ability to put together the correct information because it was all over the place. And our partners, like Ann Arbor Spark, we work with partners. We have 150 partners that have formal partnership agreements signed with MEDC. And to varying degrees, we work with them well or not well, but we never were able to share data with those folks. So they were kind of on the outside looking and looking at other stakeholders. So here's the vision, and I'll admit to a little bit of a ridiculous history. When we set out, the vision was Salesforce.com. I added that later after we selected our platform. But the vision was to put all that together to unite Salesforce automation, which is managing our opportunities and helping companies with incentive life cycle, what happens after we get them onto a program and how do we manage them. And eliminate all the spreadsheets and access databases and other things to present a unified view to the client, which turned out to be a Salesforce client portal, unified view to our partners, which I'll talk about some more, and mobile access, packaging, and all the other things that are necessary all in one system. That was the vision. It is still the vision. We're about halfway there. I'll talk a little bit about that next. So to get there, I haven't talked about cloud computing yet, but I will, trust me. So to get there, we actually started the formal project March 1st a year ago. And the first phase was all preparation. We knew our data was horrible. So we put a full-time team in place working on cleansing the data. We couldn't get data out of our systems. We created a reporting layer on top of our systems to be able to do a better job of reporting while we're working on the underlying systems. And we worked on adoption, which is kind of strange. We had a lot of people that weren't using our old Siebel system very well. We knew that the old Siebel system was going to feed the new whatever system, so we got a big push on getting them to use the current systems at the time, so we had good data going into the new system. That's just basic blocking and tackling for projects, whether you do cloud computing or whatever. And in the meantime, we did an RFI, we did an RFP, we selected both the integrator and the platform, and that's how we came up with Salesforce, and we hired the integrator to help us to do that. We awarded the contract September 30th, actually we signed the contract September 30th, so the actual project started 1st of October. We implemented, we replaced our Siebel system and our grants management system 6.5 months later, in April 18th, 2011 this year. Included in that was the client portal, and on the fly, we actually implemented in the last month of our project, we implemented two new programs that 21st Century Fox Fund folks came up with as we're implementing the major systems. So it's kind of a fun time for us. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that some of the lessons we learned as part of doing that. But the real fun is now, because once we've replaced all those things, we've got this platform, and we can talk a little bit about what we're doing with the platform beyond just replacing the system. That's kind of the exciting part. We're doing more Salesforce development work today than we did during the project, which is kind of fun. We got 4 different projects going on. First of all, we are now going after all the spreadsheets. We didn't get them all first time around. We've got lots of little systems. We've got lots of programs in the MEDC that weren't in the old Siebel system and therefore weren't in the original scope of the project. So phase 2 is, or actually this is phase 3, go after those systems one at a time, get them in. So that's expanding within the MEDC, making sure that all our data is in one place and in the right place, which is up in the cloud, so we can handle it. Full program incentive life cycle, so it's soup to nuts for all the programs, so there's no other side spreadsheets and databases. I keep talking about spreadsheets and databases like I don't like them. I don't. Spreadsheets are great tools for analyzing and reporting, but not for keeping track of data. So part of our phase one is to get a good inventory. So I know where they all are. It's just a matter of as we replace them, we'll decommission them. It's kind of a heavy hand actually. So here's the fun part, partner integration. About 2 months before we actually launched Salesforce, we launched a pilot with 6 of our partners, including Arbor, to do data sharing on the Salesforce platform. The theory was that we could, using a Salesforce to Salesforce connector in the cloud, these are some things that aren't possible if you're not up in the cloud or using a platform like this. Using Salesforce to Salesforce connector, build a statewide connected network of economic development data. So we chose 3 partners that had Salesforce. Arbor started been using Salesforce 6 years or so. 3 that had Salesforce to prove that we could actually connect our system with their system and make them work together. And 3 that didn't have Salesforce. And the plan there was to create from scratch a configuration that could be dropped into any economic development organization in very short time at very low cost, already connected to our database so we can share data. That pilot finished September 30th. All 6 are connected up and running. And so what happens now is when Arbor Spark makes a call on a client, we know about it. If we make a call on a client that happens to be within Arbor Spark's geographic area, we know about it so that we're not tripping over each other. A lot of tripping over each other occurred in the past and still occurs. We're doing statewide launch for this. We'll announce how that's going to work around the end of this month. I expect to have around 100 partners with their Salesforce implementations connected to ours by the end of next year. It's pretty exciting. It could not ever have been done on an on-premise system or actually, I don't know any platform besides Salesforce. The other thing, that's our expansion with our partners. The other expansion that we're doing is driven real hard by the governor right now is expansion across state government. The governor's vision is to have a single client database, a single database of all the companies in Michigan, maintained and touched by every state that touches a company. Why is that important? The classic case is friends over at DEQ, I'm calling on you, this company, to tell you what you can't do with the backlot. No, you can't expand your business because there's a wetlands back there, so it's going to take you 3 years to do permitting to do that. They leave, you're pissed off, you show up the next day, the smiley face and say, hey, we want you to expand and say, to Michigan. We end up getting shot. Dumb. With one hand, sometimes it doesn't know what the right thing is, sometimes doesn't know what the right thing is doing. But our vision is that. So when DEQ pisses you off, they at least make a note of that so that we know to come in with a different post. Even better, the DEQ doesn't do that because they know we got a big economic development deal cooking with you. That's the idea.
That's the next phase. You actually not have DEQ stop.
I didn't hear that. So that's the second rollout that we're working on right now. We've got 4 agencies lined up for a pilot. I'm working with Salesforce on a statewide enterprise license that takes the per user counting off the table and lets us freely use the software throughout the state, maybe even do it for local government. That's a vision that hopefully we make that happen. This will happen over the course of the next, I'll call it 2 years. A lot of work needs to be done agency by agency to get them on board. We haven't even architected it. We don't know if it's one Salesforce system that everybody uses or 6 or 7 of them that are interconnected the way we've done it with the locals. But it's high on the governor's agenda and like Vinny's agenda, so you're the reason we will get done. So let me talk a little bit about lessons learned and then we'll have any questions. First of all, this general project management stuff having nothing to do with the cloud. Data migration. There is no magic in the cloud. It cleans your data. It doesn't matter whether it's cloud computing or on-premise computing. The data is dirty going in, the data is dirty coming out, and your implementation will fail. So we started a full 12 months before implementation, before we even knew where we were going to clean our data. And I won't say it was perfect. I won't say it was even good, but it was better than it was. And our data migration went okay. that was the data migration was the hardest part of this project. It wasn't the development, it wasn't the implementation, it wasn't the user requirements, it wasn't any of those things. It was the data. Because there's no agile technologies or agile techniques that even work in the area of data migration. You got to look at your data, you got to compare the data structures, you got to translate, you got to move, and it's just old-fashioned hard work. Business sponsorship, I was fortunate to have visionary leadership before the election. And the reason I call them visionaries is because they hired me. That was a joke. But we had very strong support. They knew they needed something fixed, so we launched this project before the election, finished it after the election, and the fortunate thing is both sets of leadership with very strong supporters and actively involved in the project. Couldn't have been done without that. Agile methods. We replaced 2 legacy systems in 6 months. If we did that using the old-fashioned approach, which is in the IT business we call it the waterfall approach, where you sit down with the users, you develop requirements, you get requirement sign-offs that every user signs off. Yes, that's what I really wanted. Then you do a high-level system design, you take it back to the users and get sign off. Yes, that's what you really want the system. Then you do a detailed set of specifications, take that back to the users. Yeah, take that back to the users and make sure that this is not going to come out very good on tape. Take it back to the users, make sure that they approve the design spec. If we'd done that approach, we'd still be talking about it. We'd probably be right now in the middle of technical design specs. That's the way the project would go. People told me this is a 3 to 5 year project for $8 to $10 million. Could have been if we'd done that approach. The approach we took was an agile approach where we didn't ignore the current system, we didn't pay much attention to it. What we paid attention to was the uses of those systems. We didn't care about the 10 years worth of changes that had gone into the old SQL system, because some of those weren't even being used. What we cared about is what they needed today. So we spent a lot of time with end users, figuring out what their real business requirements were. We did 4 code drops. We did code drop 1 that said, okay, here's what we think you told us. Code drop 2, okay, here's what we think you told us, modified by what you told us after the first code drop. So successive iterations of code, and the 4th code drop went live in 6 months. And we knew going in that we would get 80 to 90% of the user requirements, and the other 10% would drive us nuts. So guess what? We got driven nuts for the next 3 months, putting in all the things that we forgot, or didn't come up with correctly, or whatever. But 90% in 6 months was a whole lot better than spending 2, 3, 4 years and more money than we had thinking about it. So we're pretty happy with where everything went. Because we're live and we got a platform that we can build out for the rest of the state. So as far as, and I can't tell you.
We get the mic back, so maybe we should go to the panel to wrap up the new.
Of course.
But I don't mean stop it, just dead stop, but can you do the last couple? We don't have a mic, so I'll try to tell you something.
Yeah, okay. So real quickly, the good thing about the cloud is you don't have I'll get my back to that. The great thing about the cloud is you don't have to concentrate
the mic is not going to come back, and we're out of batteries. So
okay.
Go ahead, finish up. Just go loud, yeah.
Okay, and I don't have a theater voice, but if it drops, you tell me. In the cloud, you don't have any worries about the technology. Somebody else takes care of updating the software, somebody else takes care of making sure the servers are running, somebody else takes care of the telecom connection, all that stuff that I used to have people worry about. They don't worry about. They're doing more productive things. So that's the good news. The bad news is I have no control over those things. So I will tell you that this Friday night at 8 o'clock Pacific time, because everything's at Pacific time, we're going with a new live release of Salesforce. Because of that, for the last 2 weeks, I was frozen. I couldn't do anything. Did they ask me whether that's the end of my fiscal year or not? No. I was frozen at probably the worst time to possibly be frozen. Okay, so we learned to live with that. We learned to plan around that. And we did our last release just before that, and our next release will be right after Salesforce goes in. Because we're doing releases every 2 weeks now. We used to do releases every 6 months. I'm talking releases of the application code. Yeah, no worries, but also no control. And I can't tell you how weird a feeling it was the first time we had an outage.
rarely occur on this platform. We actually had an outage. Salesforce is very good about letting everybody know there's an outage. So I go busting upstairs to my application team and say, what are we doing about it? And I look at me like I was from Mark. Nothing. There's nothing to be done. You wait until it comes back. And from an IT perspective, waiting for somebody else to take care of things with no control. Oh, God. I'm still shivering about that. So the other thing is, and this is a real two-edged sword. This is a very high productivity environment. 90% of the changes that get requested by users don't require any coding. I don't have to send them to the development staff. I can have business analysts or other people that are trained in Salesforce administrators make configuration changes, move things around the screen, add new fields. Lots of stuff can be done without any config, without any real development, which makes it the wild, wild west if you're not careful. It's a less mature environment than some of the legacy environments, so that the controls are going through development, system tests, and training, making sure your training environment reflects the production environment. All that stuff can get out of whack in a heartbeat. So we had to actually invent a lot of those things that were in place in the old system just to make sure that it wasn't the wild west. We got to know what's in production, where it came from, and what the change log is. And a lot of that stuff is less mature in these cloud environments, Salesforce included, than it is in some of the legacy environments. So that's some of the pluses and minuses. All right, now I'm done.
So we're going to, first of all, if you guys have any questions, reactions to each other, start with that panel discussion, and we'll open it up to the audience. So Don, Mike, you guys want to comment on each other's presentation?
Great job. Really good.
I understand what you said.
Okay, good. All right, so let's open it up. I know there's a lot of CIOs, I don't want to get the titles wrong, IT directors, people like myself who now feel like they're much more comfortable in the cloud, but I still feel like I'm in the clouds, but that's okay. So any questions, comments from anybody? Okay, Dash.
We have, Zingerman's is in the process of moving into the clouds. So we have some cloud computing, and we have a small IT staff of about 4 people. They are a service that we all pay for, so they're part of the service center. When they come next year to tell us about their budget requirements, and I say, well, we're moving to the clouds, and I saw a slide up there that says you guys are now redundant, we don't need you anymore. What are they going to do if all of my computing is now in the clouds?
So that's a great question. We see that all the time. And I can tell you we've done a number of cloud implementations. I haven't met an IT staff member that hasn't been overloaded. And what happens is today, if you were taking care of your own IT infrastructure, just fire drill, fire drill, fire drill, fire drill. Think about strategy, no time to do a fire drill, fire drill, fire drill. What happens when they move to the cloud is that a lot of those fire drills go away. Those calls at 3 o'clock in the morning because the network went down and the server went down, they're getting a full night's sleep, and they're working on much more strategic issues, much higher value-added issues. Believe me, there are plenty of things to do, like in the application side, and even if you think about running from a Salesforce.com, all the configuration, and really doing more user-configured areas, and really providing a lot more value to the organization than picking up the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's a fire drill. So all the cloud implementations we've done, I've seen none of our clients do a downsizing of their IT staff. What I've seen them do is move much faster towards much more strategic focus on where they need to be addressing the needs of the business.
Yeah, and I can echo that. In the Salesforce arena, the people that are now doing monthly and twice monthly releases of new application functionality that the business needs used to mess around with Siebel releases and deciding when to go to the next major Siebel release, and it would take 3 months of full-time effort from the entire staff to do one software release from the vendor that provided no business value. So these guys are providing the business value that was missing before. And then in my basement, which is actually where my server room is located, in the basement we've got a staff of 4 people who are supporting all the remaining servers. They're virtualized, so I guess technically it's a problem in the basement, which I would define as a flaw. But those people are going to be spending a whole lot more time on collaborative technologies and other things that they've got the knowledge to do, but they don't have the time to do today. They got to worry about security updates every day because of all the threats that are coming in from cyberspace. There's going to be more highly value-added people. So we're not going to cut staff, and we're not going to cut costs because we've added staff upstairs to accelerate for this new administration that has great multiple programs to build.
I will put one caution there, though. What it requires is your IT staff to change their skill set. This has been going on forever, in that you used to have computer operators or the guys in the lab coats to print your cards into the mainframe. Those jobs have gone away. So you've got to have staff that are happy and willing to learn new skills. If they're not, they're in trouble. But I think that's the case in every workforce.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I noticed, Gary, that you said it was a little bit of revisionist history when you said that Salesforce was in there.
Yeah.
Can you speak about a little bit about your research as to why you selected Salesforce and the other players out there in that space?
Sure. We did an RFP, and we had the Siebel and the grants management system were kind of the incumbent systems, and we did not prejudge whether it was going to be a system upgrade or a system replacement. So Siebel was a candidate. We didn't prejudge whether it was going to be on-premise or in the cloud. So we had on-premise bids. My intention, if we got an on-premise, was to take that on-premise and put it into the cloud, but we didn't prejudge the solution. And we made the decision to go with a single RFP for both the integrator and the platform, because the platform is only as good as the integrator that's available to do it. So that was our rationale, which ended up being exactly the right decision. We did an RFI cycle before we did that, and we reached out to every vendor we could think of that had a platform or that we knew had capabilities. Plus, we did the public posting thing because we're a public organization. We got a very good response to that, and I love in the public sector. When you do formal procurement, it's like buying something through the eye of the needle. You can't really talk, right? It's got to be structured. It's written responses and all that. It's subject to a lot of public scrutiny, and it should be. The RFI cycle is not like that at all. You can actually talk. And so I love doing when I was in the private sector, I loved doing RFIs because we could go and talk to the client. Was not the low price bidder in that context. We could have done Microsoft CRM a lot cheaper. We decided that for our business and for our future and the vision that we had for some of the stuff that I just talked about today, that the Salesforce platform is far and away the better platform.
Don, I have a question for you in terms of merit and research, because I know, is it like $6 billion, Marvin, in the state for research dollars now, something like that?
Yes.
Less than that. You're alone, Marvin's director of research at the University of Michigan. We're 1 point.
We're at 1 point.
Okay, and what's it statewide?
It's probably getting close to
2 billion. Also, you're more than half of the research. Wow. So I guess I'm just wondering, in terms of the future of the state as a knowledge-based state, what the connection between what you're doing and the possibilities of what we can do in the state that would differentiate us from other places.
So a number of things. So one is, we want to support all the research institutions, primarily public research universities, but there's others too, to give them the infrastructure, the platform, the tools that they need to conduct the kinds of research that will really bring benefits to society. So that's one of our primary missions. Recently, Gary and I just served on a task force to develop policy for cybersecurity for the state of Michigan. And part of that is economic development. There's already a pretty significant information security, cybersecurity business here in Ann Arbor that's growing. And we want to be able to do some things to facilitate that. So
is it Barracuda?
Well, Barracuda is one, Arbor is another, there's a number of other smaller ones, and a lot of it comes out of the University of Michigan's computer science department. People are always graduating and starting businesses there. So part of what we're trying to do is set up the environment. So if you're a startup, one of the big things you've got to get over if you've got a product is you need to get some feedback on how that works in the real world. So if you're Microsoft, you get people to sign up for your beta test program because everybody knows you and you're going to buy that and so forth. But if you're, Fred's security appliance, who's going to try it? And so the state is going to help support some of that. And Merit Network, because of the nature of who we are, we've got some ability to support some of that. There's some initiatives going on. And I think it may be possible for Michigan to have a state-of-the-art, basically the only kind of protected facility for testing security type software that's unclassified, which would be really great because it would be useful for education, it's going to be useful for the National Guard, it's going to be useful for industry, and of course it's useful for researchers. So we are working on a lot of those things, and I think the important thing is Merit has got this foundation because we own the infrastructure, we've got the flexibility that we can react to these needs, and that will certainly help us, but it's going to be the key is the researchers themselves come up with brilliant ideas and turn them into products and businesses.
It's kind of interesting in this room, we've got BBAs that are working with Scott that we're trying to keep here in the state. We've got University of Michigan through research, Marvin, where you're bringing in all this research dollars and trying to develop North Campus, to develop the tech transfer, and then many of you are working with either products of tech transfer or are working with technology that's come out of that to build business. So with the governor having this kind of vision, I think this is the future of what we can do here. Gary?
If you're interested in what Don was talking about, michigan.gov/cybersecurity. That'll get you the white paper that we worked on together. And I will tell you that our governor, who advertises himself as a nerd, he's incorrect in that. He's not a nerd, he's a geek. But nerd market's better. He stood up at the launch of Cybersecurity Week today, last Friday, and gave the keynote address without notes because he was more or less a co-author of this white paper. It was truly his vision that drove the structure of what the state of Michigan is doing in cybersecurity. It's pretty cool to have a governor that understands it.
Howard, you've got a tech-based business. Maybe you just say what your business is.
We have a software company that does DNA analysis, very software for DNA analysis. And part of it is biotech.
Say what the company is.
It's called GeneCodes Corporation. There's a division called GeneCodes Forensics. One kind of deals with biotech and pharmaceutical companies and researchers, and the other deals with law enforcement and coroners and medical examiners, the forensic side. So, and that's what I want to ask you about. Offshoring is generally considered a bad term and a bad act. And one of the nice things about the cloud is you don't have to do that. You could serve clients in Abu Dhabi and Tokyo as easily as in South.
Not quite.
Not quite, and there's a problem for us. We have, to give you an example, we have a prospective Middle Eastern client, and we could provide a lot of the services they need that they were getting from the UK for some sensitive data. And the transmission security is an issue. The UK client's disappearing. The UK vendor is disappearing. And they said, Howard, not going to happen. under the U.S. It's not they don't trust us, they don't trust the United States. That under the Patriot Act, data going across the border, can be looked at without warrant, without judicial review, and they just don't trust our government not to poke into it. Because if you had an offshore, if you had a data center with somewhere in another country that didn't have that problem, we can do it. So with that preamble, would someone like Online Tech consider putting a data center in Europe or somewhere else, other than within our borders?
So not in our business model. Our business model is really focused on Michigan and the Midwest. And there are a number of companies that have data centers all around the world.
I'd love to give you my business, Mike. I'm not kidding.
What's that?
I'd love to give you my business.
It is a double-edged sword. There are, we see a number of foreign companies that express that exact concern. If I'm in the U.S., I'm subject to search and subpoena and a whole bunch of laws. On the other hand, we have a number of companies that come and put their data centers in the U.S. either because they have U.S. customers and their providers are requiring them. They need HIPAA certification, they need Sarbanes-Oxley certification, and they can't get that in their countries. So for us, it cuts both ways, but to actually extend our operation to Europe when there's so much more of the Midwest to focus on, we're just not there yet.
And I just will say, having lived in that world for quite a while, we really get a bad rap in the rest of the world. So if you look at how secure your data is in other countries, other democracies, for a long time it was never as secure as ours. We were trying to catch up with the Patriot Act, and it got a lot of publicity. But for example, Canadian schools won't buy our mail system because of the USA Patriot Act. But their data is subject to more, whatever you want to term it. But it's less private in Canada than it is here. And UK is a great example. The privacy laws there are very, very thin. So that's just kind of the way it is. But you can't fight. It's difficult to fight that perception.
By the way, just for a little plug for Howard, he's a modest guy, but his work has really helped people who have lost people to disasters recover the remains, be able to bury people that have been lost. What was the latest in a natural disaster, was there?
I'm heading out to Nairobi sometime the next week to 10 days when we get some documentation done. There was a pipeline explosion going through a slum, and a lot of people died, a lot of them burned beyond recognition, and the government in Nairobi asked us to help. You bring in a disaster victim identification system, largely based on the system that we developed after 9/11 for New York City.
Some great work doing it. Colleen?
Yeah, you guys are really going to help me right now because I'm trying to help a client evaluate project management.
Stand up, Colleen, just so you can see her.
Trying to evaluate a project management system, and we're doing this whole internal debate like Microsoft project, internal, safe. We all know Microsoft, so it feels comfortable versus something basic in the cloud, more accessible. So really curious if you guys have dealt with project management going cloud versus not cloud. And I'd love anybody else's input, whether you've done that debate of housing it internally or in cloud.
So this probably won't be any help, but what you're asking about what color car you get after figuring out the actual car you're going to buy. So your project management is much more about process. A project management tool is a minor part of that whole success. But if you're at that point where you got everything right, then you've really got to look at what's right for your organization. As Gary said, there are pluses and minuses to cloud and proprietary systems, and you got to know what the downfalls are and match it up with your organization.
Couldn't agree more. Well said. We used in our project. We used Microsoft Project.
Here you go. Just maybe stand up and answer, because I think if you turn it back, we can't hear it.
I can hear you.
We used Microsoft Project. It played a very minor role in our project. Basically, we used it to kind of keep track of tasks, but the real project management was, because it was iterative, the real project management was in the plan of the software, not in the tool we used. So I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm just saying that's what we did.
Stephanie had a question?
Well, actually, just speaking to that same subject,
Stephanie, you want to say who you are?
Right, say that. I'm CEO of TechEd. We design and test user interfaces for companies from Google to two-person startups. And so we do a lot of collaboration work with multiple companies. And so what we found, we pretty much have to use whatever is being used in the community we're working in. But in fact, what we see is when the players are across a number of organizations, then the solution often tends to be more like a base camp solution because people can opt into it from 5 different companies that are all involved in this initiative, whatever it is. You're in a different state, and that's kind of what you're saying if you look at your situation, if you're trying to solve a problem within your organization compared to multiple organizations.
Yeah, also, Jimmy, I know, maybe you can say what you do. I know you're in this space in some degree, am I correct? Or, yeah, Jimmy House in the south.
I'm Jimmy Shaw, I'm CEO of Arbor.
Maybe you can stand up a little bit. Any questions, Jimmy, or is this all news, all pretty familiar to you?
Well, we're doing a lot of software development in the cloud, so that's our space.
Okay, thank you. We had many other companies. I know, really just wave it, but people can see. But Dynamic Computer supplies a lot of. Do you want to say what you guys do? Because we have many people playing in this space in the room here. And,
sure. Well, we're basically an IT reseller out of Farmington Hills, Michigan. We sell IT equipment that goes into the product or service of our customers. So into medical instruments or that supports government projects with defense prime contractors like Arbor. But I had a question because we do have Microsoft CRM, and we are looking to better manage our systems internally. But what we're running into, we have some customization and things that we put into CRM, and have a third-party bridge software that connects CRM to our Microsoft accounting system. Moving all of that to the cloud is not, it's just not something we can do that. It looks more like it would be a managed hosted environment, even though Microsoft offers CRM and a cloud flavor. I'm just trying to figure out for our own infrastructure how you do it when everything is, we started with everything very disjointed. How are you able to just collapse everything into one Salesforce.com and be able to use it?
Well, that's all. There's no secret sauce. You just got to look at all the connections and try to accommodate them. In your case, a cloud flavor of Microsoft CRM might be the right answer because then you're not having to re-engineer. Somebody's already looked into that.
Flow easily into a cloud.
Customizations are no easier or more difficult in a cloud environment as long as it's a multi-tenant cloud environment. The key is in Salesforce. Even though we don't have our own servers. We have a slice of some servers. I couldn't even tell you what city our system runs in. It's on NA4, whatever that means. But to us, it looks like we have our own systems, do our own customizations. They're insulated from everybody else. They're validated by Salesforce before they allow them to go into production because if we knock down the system, we're knocking down a bunch of other Salesforce customers, and they don't allow that. So that's good for everybody. I don't know how Microsoft runs their cloud services, so I can't tell you that it's the same for Microsoft. We never got far enough down the Microsoft road to check to see how that would work in the cloud. So, sorry.
I'm sorry, I just looked at my watch. I realized we're probably at a point where we should wrap up. I realize people have to get back to the work. I want to say one other thing about these gentlemen, and that is we've talked about sustainability of business in Michigan, and I think all 3 of you are examples of reinvention. You've taken things that have been around down since '66, I think the history goes back. I know when you came in, you had to do a pretty complete reinvention of Barrett to keep it going. There's a whole other story that he could tell. Mike invested, you said you were 6,000 square feet, and now you're how many thousand?
600 to 60,000.
600 to 60,000. And Mike has come in just in Yondes in the last few years into this company and have turned it around into a major player. MEDC is going through that with Gary and CIO and Paula and Tom. So there's a lot of reinvigoration going on and reinvention. I know, Howard, you've had to, you've been in business, what, 10 years?
Us, 25.
25, okay. How many reinventions have you done?
So.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just like software, I guess, is the versions. Well, I think there's a lot of versions of the company. Capnick, I don't think you could talk about selling insurance in the cloud and get away with it a couple years ago, right?
No, but
Yeah.
Insurance companies are migrating some of their processes to the cloud.
Yeah. So it's very fascinating, and yet the downside of it is how many had no emails 2 days ago from BlackBerry. You know? So yeah, I mean, I thought, why? I'm not getting many emails today. I'm supposed to be a slow day. Maybe you know, this happened. My reputation got, and I realized nobody was getting emails from BlackBerry. So the things that we depend on that are kind of, I guess that's an example of cloud computing, right? What happened there that just got overloaded, or what happened? I don't know.
Started in Europe. We're worldwide codependent. Started in Europe and overflowed into the United States.
So I think it's, you know, I like Gary's points where you have the upside and the downside. There's always competing values. There's no perfect solution to this. We're going to wrap up. I want to, again, encourage people, if you have stories to tell about ways that CEO Connect has maybe helped you connect with other people, I'd love to do that. I also want to say that there's many other stories and announcements that we want to make. So if you have things that you want to put in a newsletter about what we're doing, what you're doing, we're going to start trying to put that out every month. There is a newsletter this month. I think 3 people in CEO Connect have put out new books just in the last couple months. So it's very exciting what's going on. Please stay around. We have time to talk afterwards. And next month we're going to have a very important scientist, Eva Feldman. Eva is doing breaking ground on stem cell research. She's part of the head of the Stem Cell Center, and she's one of the foremost physicians in the country doing this cutting-edge research. And she's going to talk about research, but also about how this is going at the university and research dollars it's bringing in and the staff it's bringing in. So it should be a very interesting presentation. We have a lot of other great speakers that are coming up this year. So keep coming back, and thanks to our panel for an excellent presentation. These gentlemen could have filled the whole day just in terms of the fascinating things they're doing. So thank you for the abbreviated time and getting the message across. Stick around, enjoy. Bring food back to the staff. There's lots left over.
There you go. Right there. Yeah. You know what?